like, oh my god, am I making eye contact? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam. I am 33 years old, and a couple of weeks ago I was diagnosed with autism. Now, I have been wanting to make this video for a while because it's been about a year since I first suspected that I might have autism. Obviously, the diagnosis process takes a little bit of time, so it gives you a lot of time to think about things. But now that I have the official stamp of approval, I wanted to make this video because I think a lot of people, there are a lot of misconceptions out there about autism, and a lot of people might be surprised that I might have it. And let me tell you, no one was more surprised than me. Actually, I'm just kidding. It was kind of a relief, but I think that a lot of women are being diagnosed later in life, and if this video could help anyone out there, then it's worth doing. So I think there are a lot of people who know me that it might come as kind of a shock and be like, what? I don't see that at all. But I suspect that people who knew me when I was younger could probably see it more, because I was very shy at school. It wasn't until I was about 15 or 16 that I even started saying much in class. So I think my childhood friends and my school friends and maybe my school teachers might be able to see it. But the reason that I think other people might not see it so much is because from the age of about 18 or so, I took it upon myself to start masking to blend in. And I did this completely unconsciously because I didn't know there was anything to blend in with, but I always knew that I was different. I just thought that there was just something wrong with me. So I was about 18, I remember actively, I left school and actively thinking, wow, I need to be an adult now, I need to communicate like an adult. And I remember the friends that I made around that time, I would copy them because I would see them having these successful social interactions, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do that too. That looks good. This is how you make small talk with someone. You just ask them lots of questions about themselves. And of course, when you're having a conversation, it's supposed to be like a two-way street. And I think I must have had some very strange conversations with people. What people ask me most is, or have asked me most in the last couple of weeks, is like, what makes you autistic? And I really do think that it is just a descriptor of my internal thought processes and the way that I perceive the world. I think fundamentally I feel different to everyone else, and how I perceive the world in a sensory way and in a social way is just worlds away from other people. So I mean, for example, I always knew that I had these little, I would call them habits, bad habits, right? I've been terrible like with my nails and all that sort of stuff, and it's like, oh well, if you've got anxiety, you bite your nails, or you pick your nails, or you twirl your hair, or you do all these other things, and these things, they are a world away from what we think of as the stereotypical 11-year-old autistic boy banging his head against a wall, but they are like those little stims are still valid, and they are still a part of autism. So yeah, this is actually one of my biggest ones. I just thought I don't know, I play with my hair a lot, which is why I usually tie it up, but I realized the reason I do that is because the sensation of my hair pulling is uncomfortable to me. So I have my hair up and then I take it down and I mess it around so it's right, and then I put it up again, and it can carry on for some time. But all of these little things and little bad habits, you don't think to pathologize them. Not that I think that autism is in any way pathological, but you don't really think much of them. And I think that's been true for a lot of the autistic stuff. It's like individually they're pretty normal. Individually being shy is not a problem. Individually having a few little habits is not a problem. The problem is cumulative, and what all these little things have as an impact on your life. So for example, obviously I didn't know at the time, but when I graduated and I had a few interviews or something, they would ask me these questions that I would think, well, how on earth do I answer that? Like, tell me about yourself. And now I know the autistic person inside me, or autistic woman inside me, was thinking, okay, well, I was born here, and like, you know, doing the whole history, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, what do they even want me to say? And that was my experience of interviews. Like, what do you actually want me to say? Because it seemed like there was a special code that I was not privy to. And I went into interviews being pretty honest, and that didn't go down well. Like, they like honesty, right? So these are the little things that were like little setbacks, but eventually you think, well, okay, is there really something wrong with me? And then, you know, I did get a temp job that I was in for about 10 months or something, and like it was an easy job for me. It was admin and stuff, but I struggled with it. I struggled being in an open plan office. I struggled with fluorescent lights, and I would have constant headaches, and I would feel very like I didn't know what was the right thing to do, or whether I should, how much I should be deferential towards my bosses or my superiors, and so it was a constant battle for me to just figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. Like it's like everybody got told the script, and I'm looking for it. Ironically, that is actually one of my recurring dreams / nightmares, which is where I'm having a play and I can't remember my lines. That's basically what autism feels like for me in a social setting. So the social side of it is very subtle, because you can, especially women and girls, are pretty good at masking. And that's something that I have done so unconsciously all my life that I don't even realise I'm doing it anymore. And probably why the people who next see me will think, oh, well, she seems more autistic. Is that just a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy? It's not. It's just me slightly relaxing the mask and realising that I don't have to put on this front anymore, and realising that there was a front to put on in the first place. Now, another thing that people associate with autistic people, mainly autistic boys, is this obsessive interests. And I think I am so stereotypically autistic female that I don't have one particular obsessive interest. I have many. And when I was younger, when I was really like, I don't know, 9, 10, well, I can work it out by the date, but I think 10, I was obsessed with the Spice Girls. And that is a normal thing for a little girl to be, but it's not normal to cut out every single picture in every single magazine to put in my special little weirdo box. It's not normal to know details about them, like what hospital they were born in, and like, you know, collecting all these like random little facts. And I just thought that that was how you're a fan of something, right? That if you like something, you have to like everything, and you have to know everything. And so this sort of, obviously, like the Spice Girls was not cool anymore, so, you know, and then they broke up, which was put an end to my obsession. But then I became very obsessed with the TV series Friends. And that again is super normal. Everybody watched Friends, so like, why is this a weird thing? But I know the names of all the episodes. I had a fan website that actually I think has more hits than any other website I've tried to make as an adult. It's no longer online, unfortunately, but you know, like normal is a loaded term, but neurotypical people don't learn to code HTML so they can write a fan website. People don't spend their free time doing this generally, especially girls, especially teenage girls. And they should, because it's super fun and I actually really enjoyed it. But I was definitely one of these ones that had these interests and then moved along. And in my adult life, as a teenager, it was very much more cultural based, so, you know, like musicians or TV shows or things like that. But in my adult life, it's been way more interest based. So, for example, when I was diagnosed with celiac disease, I just slurped everything I could about celiac disease and gluten intolerance and the gluten-free diet, and then I decided I was going to start a blog about that. And it never occurred to me that that is not what most people do, because it was so natural to me to want to pursue things to that extent. And so my interests, what typically happens is I get very enthusiastic about something, learn everything I can, and then it depends on a lot of things as to how quickly I would drop it. But as you can imagine, that makes for like a roller coaster of interests and randomly accrued hobby related thing. My sewing stuff from when I decided that dressmaking was awesome, and it still is, and I would like to get back into that. But you know, dressmaking, what else have I got in there? You know, I have a chocolate making kit, I have cosmetics making kit, I've got all my gardening and growing stuff, all my seeds. I have all these interests, and I pursue them to a really, I don't want to say high level because I don't think I'm a professional in any of it, but I definitely get very, very involved into it as a hobby and then kind of drop it. So that is, that's kind of how I am with regards to special interest. And if something gets me very interested, like for example, a couple of years ago, I started on the ketogenic diet because I have PCOS and it was a method to control that. And so basically I've just read everything I can about it. And then I get very annoyed and agitated when somebody tries to challenge me on it when they know nothing about it. Whereas like I know a lot about it, and yeah, so that's something that just tends to trigger me a little bit, because I'm trying to explain to someone that I know things on a level that's not just what a normal person would know, and it's difficult, and it makes me seem arrogant sometimes, but well, it's not my fault if I know a lot of stuff. Now, I do have a lot of other little quirks. In fact, when I was diagnosed, even though I thought it would be difficult for me to get diagnosed, she said to me, well, this is it's a pretty clear case, you actually tick all the boxes, which surprised me, but I had a year to think about it, and I was like, well, yeah, I remember that from childhood, I'll put that in my report, I remember that. So it's sort of like, I had the time to really think and dive deep into aspects of my past and memories that suddenly make sense under the, you know, light of day, as it were. And so I'm not just a little bit autistic, I am autistic. And even though I seem to cope in everyday life, that is what other people see. And so this whole idea of, oh, well, you're mildly autistic or you're high functioning, I mean, it's true. I don't need a carer, I don't need to live in residential care. But to say, oh, you're only a bit autistic is sort of insulting, because you have no idea what is going on in my head. And like most of the time when I'm the quietest is when the most is going on in my head, because when there's so much happening in there, like I can't really do anything else. But I mean, for me, it has mostly been a positive experience getting diagnosed, because I feel like it is a vindication of my whole life. It is somebody, a qualified psychologist, saying, listen, all those struggles that you had, they weren't all in your head. This is a thing. The name is autism, and this is why you like that. And it's not like an excuse, or some people say, why would you want a label? Well, I want a label so I can explain it to other people. Otherwise, I'm going to be like, well, I don't really like this situation, and this makes me uncomfortable, and this makes me this. And that's what I've been doing my whole life, is just like half explaining. But actually, autism makes the full explanation much more clear, I think. And it gives me a break. It allows me to stop stressing about what other people are thinking. Because I can just be like, well, I'm autistic, you need to be a lot more clear with me about things. So it has been a positive experience, and I do think that it's important for women especially to share their journey, because women are very undiagnosed at the moment. But I think it's also important to share what you struggle with, so that neurotypical people can make accommodations, because if they don't know the things you struggle with, how can they possibly know what they can do better? And I think the reason that autism is considered a disability is because of the world that we live in is set up for the neurotypical person. So anyway, I've kind of rambled on a little bit. There are still things I struggle with. I would say that the main thing is my own internalized ableism, and this mainly comes out in the way that I talk to myself, because I've been saying pull yourself together, or just ignore this, or you know, basically trying to ignore the things happening in my own head and trying to say no, don't be like that, be like this other person, these other people, and that's something that I need to work on. But also, you know, we live in a very ableist society, and it's something that I've obviously picked up on. This is how to be. Don't be different, don't be weird, just be normal. And that's something that we all have to work through ourselves. The other thing I struggle with is that just because I know who I am now, or I know more about who I am or why I am what I am Sam, doesn't make it any easier to build and maintain friendships or to be social. I mean, I went through a phase when it got a lot worse after I was diagnosed. I'm like, oh my god, am I making eye contact? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? It doesn't make it easy, because you can, I mean, my friends have been great, actually. But even though they know that I'm autistic, it still doesn't make it doesn't make the struggles that I face with social interactions any easier. The other struggle that I'm anticipating as I talk about this more is that I am considered too high functioning, and therefore I don't have real autism, or, you know, you're doing fine, what are you talking about? Like, you're married, you've got a child, you've had jobs before, and like, whatever. Nobody's actually told me that they don't believe I'm autistic yet, but I'm looking forward to that conversation. Hopefully I can find the words before it happens, so I can like smack down that. And I guess the main thing that is a problem, or is a disadvantage of being diagnosed and also making a video like this, is that people will use it against you. I mean, That's So Autistic has become pretty much the That's So Gay of this decade. Or like, oh, you've got a bit of autisms, have you? You know, it's like, it's a casual insult now. And I mean, I just think it's kind of dumb when people say stuff like that. But there's still a lot of people that think that autism is something to be cured. That, you know, obviously the anti-vax movement is, they would rather have their children get measles than have autism. So there is still a way to go to, you know, to gain acceptance in the wider world, and not just acceptance, but understanding and knowledge, because I think most people don't even know what autism really is, and they associate it with severe language delays, or mutism, or developmental delays, which are now kind of, when they redid the DSM, they've changed a little bit about how autism is classified, so there's no such thing as Asperger's anymore. It's all just autism. So, I know I've rambled on a little bit. This wasn't really a scripted video, I just had some cues and I was just sort of talking. I'd like to talk more about this, and I think people are interested. People who've spoken to me in real life have been interested too, and they just want to know more. So let me know if you like this video, let me know what you think about the whole thing. I mean, most people probably know someone with autism. I think prevalence is about 1 in 68, but if you count all the women who are not diagnosed, it's probably a lot higher. So give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. I will probably be talking more about this in a few videos, because I think there's some processing I still need to do. But I hope you have a nice day, and thanks for watching.